You know, when I introduce myself with my name, usually people say, "Oh, John, Joe, Giorgio, Giorgio, Giorgio." Now I start with that because simply the sound of the name for me bring me to talk about what I think I'm doing. It is mainly being what I am, like a person, as everyone else. I didn't come to understand very much what that means until in my early teens I made my first trip to Rome. And to make it short, I went to Rome to visit the city because I wasn't, never been before. Took a taxi. The taxi driver was really nice, and he started talking to me, understanding there was a kind of a novice for the city, and talking to me about Rome. I said, "Have you ever seen Rome?" "No, it's the first time." "Come, I'll show you something." And drove me to the Imperial Forum, the Foro Imperiale di Rome. Beautiful place. But he didn't want to show me the Forum. He wanted to show me the huge marble maps that in about 7 steps showed you what the Roman did, building their empire. Now, what that have to do with the sound or with names and stuff like that? Well, have to do with the very simple idea that person, the good Latin, Roman, they didn't do very good. But they have one thing. They understood one very important thing, that is in the word persona, we found the root of what we are in the way we are with other people. And I kind of latch into that meaning that is very simple. Persona means true sound. The Latin word are really simple, per son. And so the root of our being a person is actually true sound, as many other things. There is sound in anything. There is sound in body and flesh. There is sound in our heart. There is sound in our crying. There is sound in anything we do. If you were just stay for a second silent, there is lots of sound there already. If you were just to move a little bit, you can try. Just shake your hands all together. So true sound, persona, we are true sound. There was a kind of a very strong imprinting, and the good Roman driver was really proud to be Roman, kind of asserted himself in an interesting way, but gave me the opportunity to kind of focus really on that idea. As a musician, I grew up in a country that seems to think that music is only one thing, and sound is relegated to a specific spectrum of activity. And Italians are like that. They like the spaghetti all the time. If they come to Vancouver, or my friend, they won't have sushi necessarily. So, do you have any place where we can have some pasta? Okay. Reality is that I wasn't really good in kind of following specific kind of idea of what it is or what is not. My mom always was complaining that I wasn't listening. The reality that I was listening, but I wasn't listening to what she was saying. She had a beautiful voice, and she had a beautiful northern accent. And when she was singing to me when I was a little boy, I mean, I didn't understand anything of what she was saying, but I would really enjoy the sound of her voice. So that happened all the time to me when I talk to people. Sometimes I get into this mode that is really dangerous in your family, where people say, "Are you listening?" "Yeah." "Really? Can you tell me what did I say?" "Well, yes, well, there was this beautiful sound at one point when you were really angry at me, and it just was fantastic. Just the energy of that, it was beautiful." So my wife advised me to go and have a check, and which I did. I did even before that she asked me. But my ears are perfect, and I kind of love loud sound very much. I tend to crank my amplifier to the max because I think if there is a 10, that should be used as much as possible. Now, that's also lead to another thing. Sound is a beautiful thing that we do, and we do it all the time. No matter what you think, you're doing sound all the time. The language is a beautiful instrument. Our body is a beautiful instrument. And that's one thing that school don't seem to really understand very much anymore. In music school, all over the places, some places more than other, there's this idea that because you have to learn something. The learning experience about playing an instrument or study composition or learning about instrumentation is about reading lots of books, listening lots of music, but not really producing so much sound in a way that is really what is that we are doing as a person. So that I started defining some methodology that got me in trouble in various institutions. That is, when we were asking me to audition new students for the contemporary music ensemble, I say, they ask, what are the repertoire you want your students to play? I say, well, no, I don't need that they play any repertoire, I just need them to play something. Okay, well, so, and now we're going to do a nice little thing with you. So I say, well, can you please then, wherever is in line for the audition, play a very loud sound. And usually the students in university setting are not accustomed to be irreverent to their professors, and so they say, yes, take the violin and play a very loud sound. Me. Can you play a very loud sound? If I say 1, 2, 3, can you play or sing or shout a very loud sound? Can we try that? So 1, 2, 3. Exactly. So can you imagine, after a while, let's say after all this violin goes on stage and play a very loud sound, they don't even use their shoulder. They just very economically use the first one. Well, then I had to do something in a sense. I couldn't really stand that. I say, look, just can I get your violin just for a second? I say, what? Do you understand when I say very loud sound? I mean, what is it? You understand it very well, do you? Yeah, you're great. So I take the violin. So for me, what I can do with violin, if you ask me to do a very loud sound, is this. As much as I can. It's not going to break. It's a very sturdy instrument. Yes, thank you very much. I wasn't asked to do audition anymore. The fact that actually the students that managed to make a very loud sound had lots of fun doing more of that, and even very, very quiet sound. What I'm trying to say is that sound is not something that we perceive as an inspiration, or even musical idea or sound idea, something that we create, something that we actively engage. When you're going to Kitsilano Beach and sit down on the big logs, watch the sound go down, is the sound beautiful? Just the sound, it's not even going down. But people think that what they see is beautiful. There is beauty in that. There is beauty in the activity of making something beautiful. Like this beautiful sculpture here. What I like of this thing is not that they express anything specifically in terms of an emotional level of feeling or your bleeding heart, but you can read lots of activity. Beautiful activity of someone like Robert Suder that is actually making things because he loves working with his body and his hands. And the sound of this object are also very beautiful. We can play with those. They're beautiful instruments. I tried outside before. Robert didn't see me. Now, as a person that is involved with sound so much that actually I think that words are not very important, I tend to speak a lot. Try to explain again what I'm doing, and as Matthew, not really knowing exactly how to do that, because sound for me is something that actually, as a beautiful instrument, to go in places where I won't be able to explain what it is. It's difficult to translate in words what an experience with sound of any kind or a way of relating to sound is. It's like, well, I guess everyone goes to a gym sometimes and get some workout to get fit, and we tend to think that but we don't know very much about it. Some people maybe get curious and get more about the idea of how it really works, how we really work as a body. But it's strange that for me, when I engage people in sound, people don't think that they can think in sound. That sound is something that represents something else, something where either we project our imagination or our feelings or our expression. But don't take the sound as something that is actually, first of all, something that we create, either with intentionality or without, it doesn't really matter. it's something that we create, even physiologically. I mean, ear as an organ is an active organ. It does not only receiving sound, it's making sound. It's like microphones or speakers. You can use a speaker as a microphone and so forth. You can change direction. Just have a certain level of flexibility in understanding the level of possible way to go. So music and sound are many different things, and sound for me is primary. A very old composer once, an Italian guy, Giorgio, died really old, but once was asked, well, what is music for you, or what you think is relevant in the work you do? And he said, well, music is a composer, so he's dealing with sound, even though he's a sculptor in a way, sculpting sound. Very interesting man. You say music is it needs me or you to exist. Someone write it, compose it, put together. Sound doesn't need me at all. Sound exists. It's there. Either we produce it, the world is producing sound, we live embedded in sound. So sound is primary. And that also a very important thing. Sound is primary, and we don't explore that level of intensity with sound. We tend to kind of transform sound in something that we can box in artifact, like making object out of it. While the process of making sound is simply a playful way in which people scream when they're young, and we tell them to shut down. It's too much, don't scream so loud. Well, the way people use sound, especially in young age, is a very exploratory way. There is, in my town, former town, there is a beautiful cathedral which sound, reverberant sound, is 11 seconds long. It's really long. When in that space, either you walk or talk or do something, otherwise you won't be able to understand that sound. The sound talks to you in the space in a way that nothing can explain it to you. There is no recording you can do of that. My first boy in a cathedral like that, the first thing he started to do was screaming, which is not very appropriate in a huge cathedral. And I kind of was holding on this kid, this screaming kid walking in the cathedral, kind of enjoying the beautiful sound he was making, but I couldn't really bear to stay there for a long time. But I realized, again, a very, very simple teaching that was coming from there. Sound is like light. If you have, what we see is because there is some, if you turn the light down, you don't see me. Maybe you can hear me. So sound, in a way, reveals something of a space, of a stage, of our life in a specific moment, in everywhere. And how we listen is what makes sense. The active way of engaging in listening. Sound is what make and reveal magic things, beautiful things, things that we don't know, and they're difficult to translate in words or in other things. How will you translate that activity in a way that becomes more of a sharing activity, in which you want to share that energy with people and make that simple understanding something that is empowering creative energy in everyone? Well, as you know, we study music or we play an instrument, but there is always that fear or that kind of sense of inadequacy of say, I'm not good enough, or it's too difficult, and I have to work hard to get my chops. Like the kids working with the computer, reality is if you give opportunity to young people, and by the way, why don't invest so much time and more time with them? Because we're talking about future and beautiful things, and don't seem that we really get the point that if we want to work with the future, that's our future. So why we give kids opportunity that are not really empowering in sound making, in exercising imagination in a way that is not constricted by a rule? Why don't you let kids scream as they like? I started years ago, I did an attempt of a screaming workshop for kids. Say, there's also people in the world actually doing screaming workshop nowadays. This is actually very interesting. For everyone, we should do one here too. The beauty of that is that non-constricted by any rule or any framework that decide what is music, what is not, there is an aesthetic value or not, but doing sound as an activity and an exaggerated excited, loud activity is something that we don't do very often, and when we do, like the guy leading the dance in the park, is contagious. It's contagious, it's infectious, and allows us to be in a place where we can think in sound together. Thinking in sound doesn't mean that you apply the rule of the rhetoric of explaining things or try to contextualize ideas. It's not about that. It's about energy, sharing energy together. We talk about that all the time, but what that is only revealed when we do something. Competition seems in schools, art schools, any schools, every day, the main parameter of our relationship. Being better, be stronger, be more beautiful. But in this way, we tend also to isolate ourselves in a perception of things and words that are very, very insular, very alienating. We think in terms of community all the time, and this is great. This is a great community. We need to do community as an action. We have to make something about it. We can just talk about community all the time. And sound, as any kind of artistic expression, I don't want to claim that sound is better of anything. I just do sound because I happen to be in love with sound from early age, but I love many different things. And you see today, beautiful, there is beauty in the dance of these bikers. It's fantastic. And the sound of the bike moving in the space is fantastic. There's beauty in this layering of collage that allows you to be in many different places, free to interpret the puzzle as you like. There is freedom and a sense of release in being a place where whatever sound you do is not going to be judged by someone else telling you, oh, you should do this and do that. That's the way people usually work in systems that are highly hierarchical. Orchestra are like that. The first time I conducted something in Canada, it was really interesting because Canadian people are so beautiful. I am one of them, so. Now, but at the time, in an orchestra like that, you're kind of relieved. You don't have to tell people to shut up all the time because while you're rehearsing something that they don't like, they do this. Really? It's a second oboe. Please, you don't have to go home right now, okay? We're still playing. Now, the fact is, though, that in that context where someone is invested of a specific power, people are not accustomed to release their energy because they always expect you to tell them what to do or what not to do, which I don't like to do. And as soon as you empower someone and say, can you please, first Viola, tell me how would you play this passage? What you mean? Yeah, well, I can tell you some positioning of the bow and fingers on your neck. How would you do that? Or you tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's what we do all the time. That's what sometimes schooling is about. Tell people what to do or what not to do. Empowering kids in that kind of very subversive way, using technology more, like computers that are so evil, especially for kids, is very inspiring to see how actually someone can use that empowering people in a way that is creative. So going back to the viola player, after a few times, I say, I'm not here to tell you what to do. At the very end, 50 people here are playing something that is going to be a beautiful piece of music. And if we don't get to the point of understanding that you are creating the sound, that there is no way I can go away and you can play something no matter what. What I'm here to do is just kind of have fun with you and maybe help you in little passages here and there. Orchestra can be played without a conductor all the time. There is no problem with that, and it's demonstrated. People can play together all the time. They just don't have to decide what they're going to do. On the Sunshine Coast, there is a huge amount of musicians. The energy of this place is mainly, for me, and the beauty of that is that very clear understanding from musicians like Steve, Andrew, the friend that I met, and many others, that possibility of creating community through sound, playing together, is there. And the sharing of this moment is also very important to get people to know that there are people working and thinking, maybe not knowing exactly what they do, but I think there is a level of envisioning and imagining possible way of being together that are really powerful. And I thank you very much for being here, for listening to what I have to say.